Welcome, Seahawks, to Música Beyond Borders with Las Cafeteras. I hope that you're enjoying a beautiful virtual homecoming here at UNCW. My name is Chris Montero, Assistant Director of the Office of Alumni Relations. With me, I have another co-host, Doctora Edel Segovia.
Hola, hola, bienvenidos a todos and welcome to our Homecoming 2021. We're celebrating Centro Hispano style. I am Edel Segovia, Director of Centro Hispano here, also celebrating our quinceañera, 15 years in the making of Centro. We are super excited to have just a wonderful set of guests with us today. Before we bring you Las Cafeteras, we want to show you a quick video of exactly who they are.
Las Cafeteras is a group of friends who got together as folks who wanted to make a change in our communities of LA, and were offered this gift of music, of son jarocho, in the space called the Eastside Cafe, which is in Northeast LA. Eventually, we took to the streets and would go to marches and sing throughout the marches and chant. Then we went to South by Southwest. We played the Montreal Jazz Fest. The Hollywood Bowl has been one of the biggest places. The Lincoln Center, also in New York. To be able to travel with this music and to really hopefully honor where we come from and our ancestors and our stories and our lineage is really a privilege for us. What's up, UNC Wilmington alumni and students and comunidad? We are Las Cafeteras from East LA. Woo woo! This is where I cue the DJ to go, bow, 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 bow. Hey, DJs in the house. Much as you are. We are Las Cafeteras. We're so excited to be here with you all today. We are going to be talking about a lot of stuff, but first we're going to introduce ourselves. Las Cafeteras say we are storytellers before we are musicians. We're in the practice of telling the stories of our neighborhoods, of our peoples, and really building a world where many worlds fit. A little secret, Las Cafeteras, a lot of us didn't grow up playing music. We actually met in the movement. I did gender justice work and community health work. Hector did educational justice work in the schools of East LA. And members of Las Cafeteras met in marches doing community organizing. It's part of who we are, and it's the root of why we do what we do. We believe that music is medicine for us and for the community and society at large. I think I'm gonna bring up Hector Chuchumbe, also known as El Feo Más Bello. We're gonna talk a lot about ourselves. This is a time where we wanna learn about you all. So we're gonna bring up Hector, we're gonna snap him up, bring up the matracas, do that sign language, bring him up to bring up our icebreaker called Where You From?
Gracias, Carlos. Gracias, Denise. Órale. So this icebreaker that we want to do first is called Where You From? All right. So if you're listening, I want y'all to write down 3 things. Okay. 1, I want you to write down your full name. All right. 2, I want you to write down where you were born. But don't just say North Carolina. Don't just say California. I want you to write down exactly where you were born. The hospital, the streets, the time you were born. If you know the name of the nurse, I want those details. And then the 3rd thing, I want you to write down where your parents were born. If you don't know where your parents are born, where your caretakers are born. But same thing, the name of the hospital, the pueblo, the city. So we're going to do that really quick while everybody writes it at home. And I'll show you how to do it. So here we go. My name is Hector Paul Flores. I was born in a little barrio in East LA called City Terrace in Santa Marta Hospital, 139 North Humphreys Boulevard. I was born at 5:45 p.m. I'm a Leo. My mama's from Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. I don't know the hospital. My pops is from a little pueblo right on the border called San Luis Rio Colorado in Sonora. I went to Cal State University, Long Beach. I got my degree in Chicana studies. And that's who I am. I'm going to pass it on to Denise Carlos. Take it away.
What's up, everyone? It's me again, Denise Carlos. I was born in Monterey Park, east of East LA, and raised in Southeast LA. It's part of who I am. My dad is from Baja California, Mexico, the first in his family to be born in an actual hospital. He actually was brought back home on horse carriage, which is really cute and really important in our family. My mom is from Jalisco, Mexico, and I actually went to Cal State LA to study social work. I am a social worker through and through. I got my bachelor's in social work with an emphasis on women and children, and then I went all the way to Chicago, the Windy City, and I got my master's in clinical social work. So I actually was a psychotherapist before I did any kind of music. Passing it on to Edel.
Ok, chicos, bueno, mi nombre es bien largo, so I have a very, very long name, my birth name, Edelmira Isabel Margarita Segovia Chumbes. Born en el Hospital del Empleado in Lima, Peru, at 1:55 in the morning, which actually I found out recently that it was 1:55, not 12:55, as it is written in my birth certificate. My mom kept a little bandita del hospital, so she kept a little band, you know, that the safety thing for the babies, and that it actually shows 1:55 in the morning. My parents are both from the area of Lima. My dad was born in Callao, which is the national port of Peru. He was actually born in La Casa. And my mom is also of Lima, and we are here now in North Carolina. I went to school at UNC Wilmington. I'm a teacher by trade, so I started out teaching Spanish, then went on to teach English, and eventually ended up with a master's in Spanish literature, and ultimately the doctorate in educational leadership. So a teacher by trade, here I am 22 years later.
All right, so I guess it's my turn then. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, not Minnesota, Venezuela. A lot of people say, oh, Minnesota. No, 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 Venezuela. En el hotel, not in a hotel, en la Clínica Altamira, that's more like it, en Caracas, en la ciudad de Caracas. The time, I really don't know the time because from what I hear, the story that's passed down that everyone was celebrating. So we don't really know at the time that I was born. My dad is Cubano, Cuban American. Mi mamá es de Venezuela, Venezuelan American now, recently. Soy Sagitario, and I moved to Wilmington to play soccer. I thought it was Wilmington, Delaware, until I found out that it was Wilmington in North Carolina, but that's another story. And I got my bachelor's in comm studies. I'm a broadcaster by trade, by heart, and I got my master's in higher education. So aquí estamos.
Hey, Chris, well, you got that voice, hermano. You got that voice, brother. I love it. Órale. Edel. My mama's name is Margarita, so I love it. So there's already some affinity going on here. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I want everybody to take notes that everybody, and I mean everybody, is a storyteller. And the first story you have to master is your own. Right? So this is a little exercise to kind of get us in that mode of thinking. So Adele, Chris, did any of you see the movie Coco?
Claro.
All right. Okay, so here we go. Adele, Chris, una pregunta para ustedes. What is the ultimate death in the movie Coco? Do you remember? What was it, Chris?
Whenever someone doesn't remember you, right? When you're no longer remembered.
Exactly. Being forgotten. Being forgotten is the ultimate death. So, una pregunta más. How do you get forgotten? How does someone get forgotten? This is not a trick question.
By not telling your story.
Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. By not sharing your story. Right? And so we have to know. So me and Denise, we play music. There's a song that we play. It's called La Bamba. A lot of people don't know La Bamba is a 400-year-old Afro-Mexican song. And it was a song that, from the campo, from people who were not educated to read or to write. So how do we know a song that's 400 years old? Because people shared their story. They shared the verso. They shared the song. They shared the baile. They passed it down. They make sure their kids knew it. And their kids' kids knew it. And their kids' kids' kids. Until a bunch of kids from East LA also learned it. The power of passing down the story. So I want to share with you this. If we don't know where we were born, the hospital, the name, the time, right? Who's going to tell our story 400 years from now, right? If we don't know where our mama was born, the time, the hospital, like I don't know the hospital, my mom. Who's going to tell my mama's story 400 years from now? Who's going to know that we survived and lived and thrived in this time? And it's so important that this country is made up of a million stories, right? But not everybody's telling them. So, with that said, share your story. And we want to share with you now a song called El Chuchumbe. Before we talk about it, I want you to hear about it. Here we go.
It's a 400-year-old Afro-Mexican song right here. Come on now.
que te vaya, 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 que te vaya.
That was a loaded song, I tell you. First thing that comes to mind is just this surge of energy that we have to move forward no matter what is it that we're risking. In my case, because we're looking for life. You know, I'm a refugee from Peru. When you say Chuchumbe te va a agarrar, sea para bien o sea para mal, it's like we are, no matter what life brings you, you have to move forward.
You know what it makes me think of, Edel, when you say that? It makes me think of this saying I learned one time at a temple I go to, and they always say, keep going.
Keep going.
When things are going good, keep going. When things are going bad, keep going. And things are always going to go bad. So this song right here, Chuchumbe, it was a song. It's actually, es un baile prohibido from the Spanish Inquisition. When you had the Spanish church that was assaulting and attacking African indigenous communities. And what do the people do? Well, they make fun of. They create art. They would create teatro, un baile. So they would do this baile making fun of the church, right? But it was like ombligo a ombligo. Es un baile prohibido. And so it was like this song and dance that was banned because it was a dance of the African indigenous people making fun of the church and for basically oppressing the people. And we sing it today, but we change the lyrics to talk about the persecution of black people today in the US and the persecution of immigrants and Latinos in the US. You know, so there's the line, el chuchumbe fue penado por el color de su piel. Como no tenía dinero, le metieron al cárcel. You know? And then what's the line that you sing, Carlos?
So the line that I offered to this song was, because this music is so, this wasn't one of the traditional son jarocho songs that we learned, right? Hundreds of years old. And again, we're in the practice of recycling this narrative in music through son jarocho, making it apply to our experiences. So the line that I offered is, en rumbo hacia Arizona, yo no sé qué va a pasar. Si me ven con mi jarana, which is the instrument I play, la migra me va a agarrar. And the reason that I really, brought in this verso was I'm a light-skinned Mexicana, Chicana, right? And my parents, when they talk about their immigrant experience and saying like, you made it to my sister and I, because we were born in the States, para ellos somos americanas, somos Mexico-americanas, pero para ellos se les hace, I'm sorry, I'm speaking Spanglish, se les hace curioso, they think it's interesting that even being born here, being US citizens, that we can still experience racial profiling and racism. So to them, it's like, whoosh, like, you're American, what do you mean? This is why we sacrifice so much. And I remind them, we build our own freedoms through joy and through speaking up, but at the same time, there's still forces and powers out there that will minimize who I am and based on the color of our skin, how Mexican I look or not, and so it's just a reminder to kind of like understand that we're still rooted, our experience is still rooted in resistance, no matter where we are and how we get there, I can still be profiled and I can still be, hurt by that. And so through this music, we are reclaiming, right? We're reclaiming a Chuchumbe as a son, so that it no longer hurts our communities. That's in my experience, that's what we do when we reclaim. We take what has been used to hurt us to empower us and to take hold of it and recycle it in a way that's no longer harmful, right?
So is there, and y'all are in North Carolina, and that's a different experience. I do not know what it's like to grow up in North Carolina. I don't know what it's like to go to school there. But is there, what from this song or from what Denise just shared right now, do you feel are some of the things that young people are dealing with, Raza is dealing with in North Carolina?
Well, this is definitely a growing community, and that sentiment of being the only one or just a few people moving forward from that immigrant experience is definitely very, very palpable, is very real. Maybe feeling that people don't identify with you, that you're alone in this fight or in this flight of navigating the community, navigating this, which is our new home, with your roots still very firmly planted on where you come from and the challenges and the journey and the journey of our parents as well. We do have a growing first gen American community as well here. Chicanos, Mexico Americano, Mexico Peruano, Mexico Americano Peruano. We have all kinds of different blends, but we all continue to share that immigrant experience either through our own journey or through the journey of our parents. But here it is the South. In terms of our university, though we may be a growing number, we continue to be a predominantly white institution. It continues to be a predominantly English-speaking community. You know, our immigrant parents and our immigrant communities are still finding the challenge of the language barrier and things like that that may not be as prevalent now, you know, in the areas that you guys are coming from or from the border towns.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, nobody grows when things are easy. You know, we only grow when things are difficult. We only grow when things are challenges, you know. And I feel like, you know, the communities, you know, in Wilmington right now are going through a lot of the challenges, a lot of the growth, a lot of the tension that, you know, that a lot of other communities have gone through. But, you know, I just want to remind people that the future looks bright, looks brown, and looks beautiful. You know, so keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what the beautiful thing that we have going for us here is that we do have a familia, we do have a comunidad. So again, feeling that shared immigrant experience or that Latinidad, that it doesn't really matter where you're from. We have that familia feel, and together we feel that we can move forward. And it's not just Latinos, it's also the amigos, it's also our allies and people that believe, that have taken the time to learn about our culture, about our journey, and actually have had both ears open to listen to very much to the story.
Yeah.
You know, and we do have just amazing stories of success through a lot of hard work, through a lot of tribulation, through a lot of keeping those our feet firmly planted on where we come from, because of the effort and because of the sacrifice that was made, and that definitely is fueling us forward.
You know, I would say before I introduce the next song, I mean, I think you're totally right, and I think part of the work we got to do is really introduce the history of the Americas, the history of Native people here. Also, like, you know, when people were coming from Europe, they were immigrants too. When the Irish came, you know, they were immigrants. Different immigrants from all over the world have come here and experienced what it's like to have to leave your homeland to someplace new, right? And so that's a common experience. And then also just North Carolina is just home to a lot of really great civil rights legacy work. You know, it was like that's where they first desegregated the lunch counters, was in North Carolina, right? The anniversary was yesterday, February 1st, of the sit-ins and the luncheons and the lunch tables. And like, we can look to that even though North Carolina in a lot of ways has had a lot of tension, it's also been on the forefront of critical positive change. And how do we take that history, apply it to today, and move it forward? But to know who you are, you got to know who you were. Because to know where you're going, you got to know where you're at. So don't bore us. Let's get to the chorus. Here's another song.
Es la Bamba Rebelde. Es la Bamba Rebelde que cantaré porque somos chicanos. Porque somos chicanos de East LA, ay arriba y arriba. Ay arriba y arriba y arriba iré, yo no creo en fronteras.
that was an amazing song. So full disclosure, this was the song that actually introduced me to Las Cafeteras. Now, second disclosure, I heard of La Bamba before with like Richie Valens y Los Lobos, and that's where my mental framework was in La Bamba. But then when I came to North Carolina, I met a pretty large Jarocho community. And for those Jarochos that are out there, you know what I mean? They are loud and proud. And they were like, no, that song is actually from us. Es un son jarocho and it has Afro-Mexican roots. So I was like, well, hold on a second. It was Richie, ahora es el son jarocho. And then when I heard Las Cafeteras put that spin into the song, I mean, immediately I recognized it. I recognized the beat, el son jarocho. And that was when I was hooked. I was hooked with Las Cafeteras. That was it. And Hector, you said something really interesting about, para saber quiénes somos, tenemos que saber de dónde venimos. And this song talks a whole lot about border talk. Yo cruzaré. I don't believe in borders. I cross them. But I would like to get Denise's perspective here. Denise, what does, because La Bamba Rebelde, right? So we're talking about rebellion. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And also, are you talking about mental borders or are you talking about geographical borders?
When I learned that this was actually an Afro-Mexicano son, I was taken aback. One, because I didn't understand that there's this whole historic piece around the third root, the Afro-Mexican community in Mexico and history. So the context of La Bamba totally like was flipped for me, right? First, from being a very celebratory song of like Mexican culture here in the United States, having it be like a nostalgic kind of antidote for my parents who are immigrants from Mexico, having it be part of just like my upbringing. When we started doing this song, like it was also like to like put in your own verses, right? Son Jarocho is very like, it invites you to put in a twist, to not be perfect, to sing your heart out, to dance your heart out, and create a story for yourself in each verse. So when I wrote like La Bamba Rebelde que cantaré porque somos chicanas de East LA, to me, it was very much like I am presenting myself to the world as a pocha from Los Angeles, right? And in just the arrival to that, I think there's a lot of rebellion.
I have an interesting reaction because yesterday I had a dream, and my dream, I was making all these mistakes in Spanish, and I had my family from Venezuela. Shout out to my fam from Venezuela, correcting me on my bad Spanish, right? And there is a shameful kind of like context behind our co-construction of language. Like, why can it be troca? Why can it be parqueate? I know it's estacionate, right? But like, don't we get to construct the meaning of our language? And why does La Real Academia Española police our language, right? And how we design, right? Like our everyday life. So when you talked about pocha, that was kind of triggering for me, because I believe that Spanglish is a language, and it's a beautiful way of expressing ourselves and where we are today, where we may be tomorrow, no sabemos, pero aquí estamos, right? And that's how we make meaning of today. So that was awesome.
Like that.
That's the work. We're all different, but we're all the same. And how does our difference remind us how beautiful we really are, right? What you think, Adele?
I think I'm kind of wrapping up all these thoughts with the what you guys mentioned, the authentically us, the authentic me, as part of the larger familia. You know, just bringing light to owning where you are, the journey, and everything that's been either thrown at us or that we have picked up or collected to shape our just our experience and who we end up being today, knowing that we're not the same person today as when we first began this journey, or when we were still maybe unsure or maybe not proud yet, you know, of our roots. Because let's be real, there's so much negative, just we absorb so much negative of the media, of politics, of just anti-immigrant or whatever the negative may be, that sometimes, not sometimes, oftentimes we absorb that. And so we end up just internalizing that. And I really want to see the opposite. And a lot of what we do here at Centro Hispano is really helping our students and just our community turn that upside down and go in the positive direction, into blooming, into owning, into being, and just clinging on to your authentic self with everything. I'm so glad that Chris brought up that subject of the language. The language is what you carry, what you wear. You know, what comes out of your mouth, in whatever way it comes out, it is correct because it is yours.
Where is the space to create our own future when we are part of a legacy and an understanding, right? So taking the lessons of our families and our parents and building our own realities.
What would you say to a young Latina right now who's going to college, who's really like discovering her, her essence and who she is? What would you say to to 19-year-old, 20-year-old Denise? What would you say to a young Latina? And make it, what would you say? Short and sweet.
Him, go to therapy, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, I love that. I would say keep going. I remember having a really, really, I wanted bad time. I wanted to drop out, and I didn't. And I kept going, and there was so much for me. And college was one of the most difficult times of my life, and I got through it. And but it prepared me, right? Like, it was hard because I was getting prepared to have to go into the world where it's not easy. It's not easy, and so I feel like we've been able to become successful because we come from the barrio and because we've had to work for everything that we got.
Part of that is caring enough about yourself to surround yourselves with people that see those gifts, who see the magic in you. And when Hector talks about, like, we've been fighting for everything we got, that's real. It's easy.
These are seeds to many more conversations. But what we see is that we actually have a lot more in common than different. In North Carolina, we got a lot of love for you. We can't wait to come see you.
sigue la lucha, dale ponte trucha, que sigue la lucha, dale ponte trucha.
So we're back. Thank you guys for sharing that incredible song. You know, Las Cafeteras has this unique way of time stamping our history, of time stamping our present. So we talked about Chuchumbe, escuchamos La Bamba Rebelde, and now we get to hear about solidarity. And when I hear this song, I think that there's a door that has opened. There's a door that is wide open, that before we kind of had a knock to talk about race and diversity. And here at UNCW for a very long time, we've been considered a campus by the beach. You could go surfing, you could enjoy, you know, some cool waves, but for us in Las Cafeteras, we just don't go with the flow of those waves, right? So we need to swim against the current as well, nadar contra corriente. So Las Cafeteras, one of the things that I enjoy most is that you don't get tired of swimming against the current. So when we talk about building this community and building power shifters and building bridges, there's an exchange that happens when you build a bridge. And that's a co-construction of our future together.
Mm.
But the problem is that not all bridges allow us to evolve. Some folks only build bridges to just share their perspective. And it's only a one-way bridge, but it's supposed to be a two-way street. So my quick question, I know we're running out of time. What advice can you give to people who build bridges but are not interested in the two-way exchange?
Mm. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with community, right? And so I think everybody need to reflect on like where is it they're going and who they're going with. And if wherever you're going, you find yourself alone, you know, you might want to reflect on that journey, right? Because it's not just about us, it's not just for us, but it's for justice, you know? And so like that's what we need to talk about. The journey to justice and how do we get there? And that journey is not a one-way street. And so what you think, Carlos? That's a great way to end or what?
I agree. You're so wise.
You're wiser.
That was
So
beautiful.
with that said, Raza, we want to thank y'all for this plática. Edel, gracias, doctora. Chris, so much. I didn't know you played soccer. I can't wait to like dribble past you. You know, it's gonna be
It will
amazing.
never happen, bro. The ball goes through me, but not you, man.
You
Sorry.
know, but with that said, all we're doing is, you know, somos jardineros, jardineras. We're planting seeds for more conversations.